Hola, jigge mot meg vea, bro, anabi og vea, le bondega andale, agosa esha umba. Hola, jigge mot meg vea, bro. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and they are setting us up for the tea attack. Of course, now they are saying that there were smugglers helping Al-Qaeda come into the country. Is this not just a perfect setup for something bad to happen? Essentially, what they said is that a smuggler with ties to the very worst of worst is helping Uzbeks cross the U.S.-Mexico border. It says the smuggler was based in Turkey and had links to Islamic State, also known as IS/IS. I say that this way. If you guys join me for the news short that I just did, I literally said the word and it started buffering. But that, of course, which has not been talked about for years, all of these countries have shifted their focus away from the IS and the IS over to Russia and China. Now they're bringing it back. Of course, most people have forgotten about this. And, of course, if you've lived through 2001 and that event, then you probably question everything being said about this and that topic about, general terror. But it says that record numbers of migrants have crossed the U.S.-Mexico border illegally since President JB took office in 2021, including many from distant nations. We have information from Marfoogle family military and from Border Patrol that they are having issues with a specific country, though. This is saying Uzbeks, right? They're saying about, and these related people. But, of course, mainstream is not talking about why all of these 18 to 21-year-old Chinese migrants are coming over. So again, very, very odd thing that the numbers will probably reflect next time they do their counts. But it says that Republicans say that Biden encouraged crossings by reversing tougher policies of former President Donald T. Trump. A Republican, the Biden administration argues that it instituted more humane policies as migration has challenged countries across the Western Hemisphere. Of the nearly 2 million migrants encountered at the U.S.-Mexico border between October 2022 and July 2023, 216 were on watch lists for potential links to T-ism and U.S. government statistics. It says that the U.S. intelligence officials discovered a smuggling network to bring Uzbeks into the country and a smuggler with ties to a U.S.-designated foreign tea organization, White House National Security spokesman Adrian Watson said in a statement. So they're literally saying that there's some sort of network and they're trying to bring these people in. Also, we have covered all of the people that have gotten caught, but if you think about it, 1 in 10 gets caught and the other 9 probably don't. So, we, of course, write it off because nobody thinks the worst is going to happen. But if we know all of our world's 3-letter agencies and the adjustment bureau that, goes around changing world events with the swipe of a pen and a paycheck, then we know that something very well could be on its way. I would highly recommend that people keep their head on a swivel, especially right now. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the threats from North Korea. We're going to talk about Eminem telling Vivek Swaswamy, if I know I said that wrong, to stop using his music. We'll cover that. And then, of course, we'll talk about everything else with Japan. We're going to show you some Pentagon white papers. We're going to show you DOD. We are also going to talk about Finland and why is it counting its nuclear bunkers. So we're going to cover all of that right now. Thank you to the mods that have already made it in, and thank you to everybody that made it to the show. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we're going to cover a ton of stuff, so get over to the website. Make sure you go over and see a full bibliography of all of our sources, including the DoD white papers, the Pentagon stuff that we're going to be covering a little bit later. And then, of course, you will find all of our shorts and all of our content from the other channel, our sister channel, Marfoogle News. We are also going to be expanding with jams, and we're going to be doing more stuff on that. And then we're probably going to have another channel. So make sure to stay over and stay tuned to the website, marfooglenews.com, and also make sure to sign up for our notifications. To get right back into it, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, just want to thank you everybody that made PayPal donations in 2023. Thank you guys for supporting our independent channel. We, again, are on our own, so thank you guys. We don't have a multi-channel network. We are supported by you guys. Thank you so much. Again, thank you. Dex, back to the smugglers, essentially out of nowhere, because they haven't talked about T or is at all, and now they're bringing them back up. Essentially, that these guys have ties with the Mr. Al and Mr. Kada. So what's the deal?
They've had many opportunities to talk about this. This has happened quite frequently over the past. Matter of fact, they even say it happened 216 times. People on watch lists were picked up. But why are they talking about it now? That's the real question. Why now? And as a lot of times we look at this stuff, it tends to be foreshadowing. So that's the thing that I worry about, is they're bringing this to our attention, putting it to the forefront, so that maybe when something happens, planned or otherwise, that happens, they can point back and say, yeah, see, we told you this was going to happen, because we have this excuse as to what, who was involved or who may have done this. So the other thing to think about, though, is those numbers. Okay, 216 in 10 months. That's only of the people they found. Okay, that's not counting anybody that they didn't see. And you got to imagine, if you're a bad guy trying to get across, you're not going to go across in the way that you're going to get caught. You're probably going to go across in a much more protected way. So that number is probably astronomically higher of the people that have come across that border, and not necessarily be the types of safe people that we would expect that are coming across. And if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and if we were to believe that 2001 was just completely America hating thing, whatever that was, everybody's got a different belief. I am pretty firm in mind that, it was really, really shady. But either way, how many guys were involved in that? Like 20 or 10 or 15 or whatever for 4 different planes, or was it 4 or 5? Whatever it was. That was just a few guys. Imagine 2,000 or something like that, setting up and doing different things. One thing that I consider is the SolarWinds hack, and the SolarWinds hack accessed a bunch of crazy stuff. I've told a lot of my friends and family about this, and I just saw a movie that also portrays, what was it? Was it The Adjustment Bureau? And I actually said that earlier because that movie does kind of represent the people that kind of control the narrative and tweak things in there if things go off path, right? Controlling the narrative. That was a perfect kind of analogy movie for that. The Adjustment Bureau, if you haven't seen it with what's his face, Matt Damon, shows them God adjusting things, but it was more like FBI of angels or something. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Basically, the FBI in the movie were actually angels, and they were adjusting things and adjusting people's path. Regardless, with this, it's like, that as far as all of these events that are going on, like 2001 and what is happening right now, it's almost like we're heading into something, and they're preparing us for some massive event. And I feel like everybody kind of sees this coming. And when you tell your friends and family about this, they just, in that movie, they actually show this guy, and he gets put next to this person when he's off work or something. And essentially it's the guy that's the conspiracy theorist. And he keeps talking about, look, they put it in the water and all of this. In Hollywood and everywhere else, they make anybody that questions the narrative look crazy. And your friends and family have been trained to basically think you're crazy because you believe in asking questions. If you ask questions, then you're outside this narrative, and you're nuts. I think it's absolutely crazy not to ask questions right now. Why? There has been no focus on this at all, and now they're bringing it back out of nowhere. I think that people need to really, really speak up and ask these questions. And I would hope that if you knew, like, say, reporters that actually go in and question people, I know that they have kind of their canned questions that they ask, but if you know people like that, push them to be truthful and to actually ask real questions of these people. Because through the network of people that are watching, I bet you there's some folks out there that have friends in high places. So if you can, ask the real questions, like, why now? I would love for them to, like, really grill them about why the heck this is even being brought up right now. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And you know what? I think it was The Tick. It was the show The Tick that I was confusing the Adjustment Bureau with. You are right. Somebody said that. I think that's The Tick. You are totally, totally right. But the Adjustment Bureau also, yeah. And then first ever alien object recovered on Earth. Harvard Avi Loeb says hundreds of tiny fragments found at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean were from outside our solar system, which is kind of funny because it's not actually a surprise. Everybody, that's what they thought. I think, do you remember, Dex, when we covered that Avi Loeb and his partner at Harvard, they actually finally got the information back from the U.S. government. And the U.S. government, they did like a Freedom of Information Act, something or other. And then they finally got that information back, and it showed the trajectory, which was hidden. And it showed that it was from outside of our solar system. And that was a whole weird story in itself, because the U.S. government kind of hid the information on it for years, or they just wouldn't release it, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, he had to work with the military to actually track down the actual location. And obviously going through lots of hoops and hurdles to even find the location where it landed, so that they could conduct this research and try to find these pieces.
And now they're saying about 700 metallic spherical objects were determined, it says, to contain alloys only found in interstellar space and formed 13.8 billion years ago in the Big Bang. So they're saying that is fact. First of all, I'm not trying to start a debate here, but how the hell did they know that? I don't think you can carbon date that back that far. I don't even know how that even would work. And how are they saying, or trying to, they're literally just saying it was formed in the Big Bang. First of all, the Big Bang is not a proven theory. It's a theory. It's just a theory. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying that other ones are right, but the Big Bang is literally a theory. There's a lot of well put together arguments for it, but that's not proven. It's not a fact that we all started out in the Big Bang. I'm sure all of the very, very, high elite academia can fight over that all day, but it's not a proven fact. And I wonder if this is kind of pushing the whole thing. Like, it seems like humanity has been pushed away from any sort of religion and towards this kind of thought that we started out of a Big Bang. But one thing that I just don't understand how people can think about is what happened before the Big Bang? There was just nothingness? Are people that stupid? Like, so before the Big Bang happened, there's just nothing? That doesn't make sense. I don't think our brains can actually handle it. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the term Big Bang here is being used as a reference point in their industry, because that's what they refer to as what happened early in the beginning versus where we are now. And the reason they're able to determine this came from an earlier time period is because it's rich in beryllium, and nothing, especially here on Earth, has beryllium on it. It's super rare. It would be something that would be found closer to the origins, because it's a very dense and heavy
What is the origins?
material. Well,
how do they know that?
In the purpose of this article, they're just calling it the Big Bang, because that would have been further back in time, as opposed to way out here where Earth is from wherever that point in time is. That's the assumption.
But do you see my point?
But
if there's no proof,
I totally agree with your point.
Say
I'm not trying to. I'm not
because people just assume they go, oh, it's from the Big Bang.
Theoretical physicists. That's their job. They believe in that, so they're going to say it. They're not going to say that time we can't call something. So they're just going to.
But then say it's
use
theory.
The term that they use.
Don't say it as a fact. They just kind of throw that in there and go, "Oh, it's from the Big Bang." Wait, isn't the Big Bang a theory? So like, shouldn't they say it's extremely old, or it's millions and millions years older than anything we've ever seen? But instead they say, "Oh, it was formed during the Big Bang." That's literally what they say in all three of the articles I saw. And I'm like, okay, that's assuming that the Big Bang is absolute. Anyways, just the main point though, Avi Loeb and this whole alien thing. Think about this: if aliens just all of a sudden appeared, and there really are aliens, it would change everything on Earth. Some say it would be chaos, because just hypothetically, go down the road that there is no God, and that it's actually a Big Bang and it's evolution, and that there's thousands and thousands of planets out there with life. Then if religion did truly break down, like if they had something that absolutely proved that there is no God, or that there's aliens and that everything we thought was wrong, there are some that believe that it would be absolute chaos on Earth without some sort of religion to ground people and to have some sort of rhyme or reason of rules to live by. Then people would absolutely go nuts. I just wonder if this is part of the push. Like, there's so many atheists now. There's so many. And again, I know there's a lot of you guys may be atheist or agnostic. I'm not hating. But one thing I don't like is that when the government and mainstream media push either way, they shouldn't be pushing you in either direction. They should let you decipher for yourself. As far as the alien stuff, why has it been pushed the last 10 years? Why has it been pushed especially the last 5 years since CV and all of this? Out of nowhere, during CV, when they were doing the stimulus package, do you guys remember this started, when it really started picking up? Is part of the stimulus package to get it passed. Tell me this isn't weird. Part of the stimulus package was one of the conditions was that they release documents on the UFOs. Do you not find that strange? Like, totally related to a demic, they're going to release UFO files. Dex, do you remember that? And we were like, what does this have to do with that? And why is this a condition under the stimulus for, this thing that happened in 2019? It didn't make any sense.
It was an odd stuffer in the bill, that's for sure.
Yeah. And they do all this kind of stuff at this, why? I don't know if this is a distraction. As far as Avi Loeb and stuff, I do think that there are asteroids and things that, if they are right, if Avi Loeb is right, which I don't know. Before this, no Harvard professor would come out and say these things. No Harvard professor would say, I think Oumuamua is an alien. Or if this is true, if Oumuamua was an alien spaceship, if this was a 2014, scout or something before that, who knows? But look at the world we're in right now, where they're talking about this stuff. When I was a kid, I would never think that this would ever step outside of science fiction. Now that's where we are in the mainstream media. And you kind of don't wonder why mainstream media is so doubted. Dex, go ahead.
So on one hand, this is sort of the letdown because everybody was he had said, hey, it's going to take us 28 days, and in 28 days, I'll let you know if we have alien tech. And it's the letdown in the sense that he didn't come out and say it's alien tech, but he was able to confirm it is from outside of our solar system. In other words, being interstellar. And they also were able to not detect this material in the control group areas they were dragging on the ocean to make sure this isn't something that could have formed in naturally on Earth. And all of the material in here is stuff that is rare or non-existent on Earth, which is really interesting. So, to that extent, it's very interesting. It doesn't necessarily answer those questions that a lot of people were hoping they would be able to determine this was some sort of alien tech that had built it.
Now there is some breaking news. Candy cams, it is pretty fresh right now, and usually if it's like super so fresh, we usually wait and try to cover it. But they are saying Reuters is saying that UKR drones attack Russian airbase. We there was something. This is we'll actually add that to the show. But I don't think it was in Estonia. I think it was bordering Estonia. But yeah, thank you. That's very important to know the difference. I don't know what the first things reported, but it looks like at least one article said that it was in Estonia. That could be some sort of big cover up. That would be bad. So we'll add that, and I can't look at it right now. But Dex, can you find? They say that Estonia was hit. Kenny Cam says just saw Estonia may have been blown up by Russia. Let's see.
Yeah, the headline is it was at a Russian airbase near Estonia, and I got the article if you want it.
Okay, thank you. Did you grab the Reuters one or did you grab?
Yeah, I got the Reuters one. Okay, I'm trying to get it formatted.
All right, thank you. And then Hurricane Idalia strengthens en route to Florida, threatening dangerous storm surge. So all of those Ferraris. Oh, I guess no. I was thinking of California. Idalia's. Here's the thing, Florida. Obviously, you guys are pretty well prepared for this. Florida, you guys have a lot of hurricanes, and you actually know what to do during some of these. But I would say heads up for this one because they say that the storm surge could be above some of the levels where obviously people could have really bad flooding. So if you are in the kind of the direction of this, then I'd do what you normally do, sandbag and board up windows. But it says that Hurricane Idalia gained fury over the Gulf of Mexico on Tuesday as it crawled towards Florida's Gulf Coast, forcing evacuations in low-lying coastal areas expected to be swamped when the powerful storm hits overnight. Idalia was generating maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour, which is definitely up there by early Tuesday evening, but its intensity will ratchet higher before it slams ashore in the early hours of Wednesday. So I hope all of you guys in Florida are safe out there. Please, listen to whatever. If they tell you to leave, it's up to you. But I wouldn't stick around unless you really have a good setup. So, and then Dex, do you want to go over the DoD will deploy AI-enabled detection system to monitor DC airspace? This is wild.
This is kind of freaky. So they're launching an artificial intelligence powered airspace monitoring system. They're installing it to, as a quote unquote, enhance the protection of the capital and scale it across potentially other areas. But this is, I guess, one of the first places they're rolling it out. It's an upgraded visual recognition, identification, and a warning system all together. I'm envisioning like these. I think there's even a picture, may not be in this article, but I think there was a picture in the original article. It sort of shows what the kids, I guess, if you want to call them, 'cause they look pretty young, that developed this thing. But it's basically these big lenses that are looking and monitor. There are probably multiple different types of monitors that are looking at stuff in the sky, but they're using AI to be able to interpret and determine and monitor and map what is in the air and what's happening. So that's kind of New tech, for sure. Something we haven't seen, a new use for AI, probably a decent use for AI, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that are being processed there that would be done a lot quicker with artificial intelligence. But it's also kind of a creepy thing when you think about it, in the sense that here's yet another piece of information and a piece of equipment that's being driven by an AI system, that's going to be performing a critical task. At least in this case, it's not necessarily taking things out of the sky, but it certainly is tracking them. And it would be interesting to see if it, how it evolves over time, if it has failures or has intentional failures, or it just runs perfectly.
And this is directly from the U.S. Department of Defense. And it just seems to me like this could be some sort of Terminator plot line right here. They're putting AI, partially, and who knows where this will go down the line, in charge of defense for our capital. What if somebody hacked that and sent missiles flying at somewhere else? I don't know how it is now, if it's computer run right now, but I would think that there would be a lot of safeguards or something. What if something happened to this system? I'm sure they're going to separate it and secure it and whatever else. I just think that this is kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm weary of everything AI. But what do you think? Do you think that this is going to end up being some Skynet stuff later down the road, and they'll say, "Oh, it was just a glitch"? I don't know, but it looks pretty wild. It looks like that robot Johnny 5, only a rooftop version. I love how the guy got matching sunglasses to the unit there. All right, and Blissfully Leia says, Adam, yes, I love and support the way you defended God. Much, much respect, and you are appreciated. Eyes open, no fear, be safe. God bless. Well, I just think it's crazy that they just say it's the Big Bang Theory. And one thing I will point out, you guys know, almost all of you know I'm Christian, and if you are agnostic or atheist, I honestly think that if you go back 15, 20 years before they heavily pushed it to where people hate each other, if somebody was Christian and somebody was atheist, you could have a conversation past that and still hang out. When did it become a thing where now we judge people by what they believe? Like that's, I get where there's the extreme lines of that, but like if they believe in something horribly evil, yeah. But it's like, why are we not allowed to have our own opinions and our own beliefs now? They've made that to where, like, I would really, really love if we had every type of person here. Doesn't matter what you believe. And it's not like we're making it that way. If you are a person and you have ears and you want to know things, then come here. I don't care what you are. I think it's stupid to debate and to argue over these things. And personally, my view as a Christian is that it's not my job to push stuff down your throat. And I know that people will find places in the Bible that say that your whole job is to make sure that everybody knows. I'm not a pastor and I'm not talented or skilled enough to be, but I will say this. When I see the people screaming at people on the street corners, that pushes away people I know. They're like, I don't want to, that guy's screaming at me. I think that that's not the right way to go about it. I think the right way to go about it is how you live your life and how you act, and by the way that you do things, by the way you react to things, by the things you don't do. I think that's an example for people that, that's just how my mom said, be the person that you want to be. And I'm not perfect. I am guaranteed not perfect. But I do not like when people get in these religious arguments in my channel. I hate that. I just get past it. Talk about something that you do like to talk about. But yeah, I will defend, what I believe. But I'm not also going to put down somebody else's belief at the same time. All right. And then really excited, you guys, before we move on, we're going to talk about Kim and the nuclear threats. This is really, really awesome. So waited a long time to find the right one. We are now an affiliate for Harvest Right. So we have talked about, My Patriot Supply and other freeze-dried foods. This isn't going to be for everybody because Harvest Right is an expensive system. Like we've said on buying some of the food, it's like, well, if you want to get into this yourself to freeze dry your own food, it is not cheap. It is an expensive machine, but once you have it, you are kind of sustainable on your own. The great part about this is, again, compared to dehydrating, it uses cold and not heat, and it takes out all of the oxygen. Those are two things that basically kill the food or make it liable to go bad. When you freeze dry, it essentially sucks all of the water molecules out at the same time as cooling it, at the same time as taking all the oxygen out, and it essentially preserves the food, and it can last 25 years. So if you haven't seen the Harvest Right, these are the best of the best. These are the ones that everybody coveted during CV. These are incredible units, and now you can get them through us at marfooglenews.com/freeze. We think this is really cool because a lot of people, there's so many reasons why to freeze dry your own food. It is a third of the cost of buying it pre-made. You can do all your own stuff, but mostly when you buy pre-made food, you have kind of a selection that's picked out. This way, if you have a garden or veggies, or if you're a gardener, you can literally freeze dry all of your own stuff. You can customize your own freeze dried food. And once you do it, and again, these are super easy. You set it and forget it. You put it in, 24 hours later, you have freeze dried food. You will have preserved food that will last 25 years. That's a huge, huge deal to be able to do this yourself and to customize everything about it. You can pretty much freeze dry. I don't know what you can't freeze dry, but I know pretty much anything can be freeze dried, and it's a really, really amazing technology. Go over to marfooglenews.com/freeze. Right now, they have $300 off on the Pro model. So again, this is something that the more you get to know about it, it is something that is pretty valuable. As far as I know that some people are going to be saving up. I also was really, really happy to find out they have a layaway option. So I believe you have to put $250 down, and then you keep paying it off. And at some point, you can, once you pay it off, then you will get the machine. But this is something that will come in extremely handy, and it's good not even for SHTF, for inflation-safe food. Like if you wanted to freeze dry the food and use it later. So I highly recommend this one if you are going to go for one. I checked out all of them. I believe that this is literally one of the best out there. So I believe that nobody will, I think everybody will be happy with this. And yeah, it takes us a lot. We've had the same affiliates for years. I don't press yes on anything because if I don't believe in it, then I will not represent it. You guys know I've had 3 or 4 affiliates for years. So, and if I don't think it's going to help you or help you survive, then I don't do it. I think this will pay itself off if you really do want to get your stocks up. This would pay itself off in a few months if you are really active about freeze drying your food. Again, marfooglenews.com/freeze. Make sure to go check it out. The Pro is now $300 off. Again, thank you for going through us. All right, and then Kim Jong-un tells North Korea to be ready for war with the U.S. Dictator claims military exercises are a rehearsal for an invasion and calls American, Japanese, and South Korean leaders gang bosses. So he's said this so many times before, people just write it off. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I've been seeing a lot of this stuff, and I've been thinking, man, what are they setting us up for? They're constantly putting it in the back of our head that Kim Jong-un is this threat. It's been since it's been forever, but really it was like 2017 or 2018 when T-Man was in office, when they did that whole Rocket Man thing. Now they have the capabilities that they didn't have 10 years ago. So it is a changing landscape, but you wonder, why are they still even there? I'm surprised a 3-letter agency hasn't gone in and taken him out yet. Or if they did, and if you think that, maybe that when he had his brain surgery and he died, according to mainstream news for about 2 hours, maybe he did. And maybe this is all a circus to, either they pull the trigger on something that starts WW3, or to distract us or to make us afraid so we're not paying attention to whatever else they're doing. Hence, all of the CV talk and everything else that's going on right now. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Dex, what do you think about the Kim Jong-un saying that he mentions nuclear war in its headlines, right? But is this any different from previous times he said it?
The guy talks so much about this. There comes a point where you sort of have to wonder, when is he real and when is he not? But at the same time, when he's putting his entire military on alert, so to speak, or to be ready, that's a little different than what we've heard some of the other rhetoric. The other rhetoric is, well, we'll do this or we'll do that. You shouldn't do this. But this is not necessarily a message to the world as much as it's a message to his military, but obviously doing it in a way that the world can hear what he's saying.
Yeah, I would say most preppers look at this and just say, okay, that's in the back of my head. I'm not going to write it off, but I'm also not going to pay much attention to it. But the better thing is, I'm sure most of you guys would like to know when something like this is said rather than not knowing. That was my whole thing. I would rather, know something, have it run by me instead of it being a surprise. It's just like anything in your regular life. If, some big sort of change is going to happen, it's always great if somebody runs it by you first so you at least know about it before it happens. I hope, and I really hope that nothing ever happens with North Korea and a nuke or whatever else. But if you followed the narrative, it's like everybody is talking about some sort of tactical nuclear weapon going off. And I think that would be a perfect way, without destroying the whole world, to start off WW3, get the military-industrial complex going, to restructure power, to get all of the alliances reshifted, and to take out leaders they don't like. So, just a thought. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, thank you, Chanel Beveliqua. I appreciate that. And then for love of country and God, thank you for the super thanks on last night's show. In fact, I think you did it a couple hours ago. Thank you so much for love of country 2259. Thank you for the super thanks on the last show. Thank you for supporting independent. And then Blissfully, thank you. And then Kenny Cams and Rumble the Clown. Thank you guys for your support today. I appreciate that. And thank you, Liz Potter. Thank you for the $50 super chat. You didn't have to do that, but thank you so much, and thank you for supporting us. My debt is paid in full by the blood of Jesus. Hey, Liz, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for stopping in. You're here a lot, so thank you so much for your attendance, too. Thank you for sharing us out, and thank you everybody that shares us and gets us out on their social medias and everything else. And then this is another kind of white paper here. The PDF version is available on our website. This is the Defense Security Cooperation Agency. Japan is going to do joint air-to-surface standoff missiles with extended range. So Dex, yet another white paper, and this is regarding Japan. They're kicking it up. We said watch Japan, and now look at what they're doing. They're changing formations, they're putting more money into their military, and they are now becoming a military might.
Absolutely. So this is something that they're doing to enhance the capabilities of their F-15. They're going to get not just these 50 AGMs, and these are the extended range, so they can go like 1,000 kilometers or close to that, which is pretty far. They're also getting anti-jam global positioning systems. So they're putting receivers in, or at least getting receivers that can be used that are basically don't get jammed or can't be jammed, allegedly. So that's interesting technology. The distance on these, outfitting them for their F-15s, which they've also been spending money with us to modernize their F-15s and make them bring them up to a better standard as far as their electronic capability. And then placing these in their arsenal will give them a much greater reach into China, obviously, which is what you would expect this to be for. So this is a notice that they've approved this type of sale. It's only $104 million. It's not that huge, but it is a sign of like, look at these missiles, these specific, 1,000-kilometer long missiles. I think they can hold something like 1,000-pound penetrator and blast fragmentation warheads on them. So they're pretty significant, as well as the anti-jamming GPS capabilities that they're adding to it, along with all the other spare parts, consumables, and accessories that go with it.
Yeah, so they're doing this from, these are Lockheed Martin systems, and the sale, they say there will be no adverse impact on U.S. defense readiness as a result. Essentially saying they're getting it straight from the company, right? That's what that would conclude. So it sounds like they are getting long range missiles, and pretty soon too. So something to pay attention to. And then the Pentagon is to develop drone swarms with eye toward future China war. I actually called this years ago, and I actually got a heads up on this before, like when the first DJI came out, because one of my family members' boyfriends at the time was working with, trying to see what I can say here, was working with, just say Boeing. And there were certain things that were being made, and there were certain things that they were looking at that adversaries were already working on. Drone swarms was one of them. Hollywood has actually predicted this even with movies like, it was one of the falling, Olympus Has Fallen, I think it was, where the president, whatever his name was caught up with, not Russell Crowe, or always get them confused, but what's his face, Gerard Butler. And they show this vehicle with a launcher that launches out about 50 AI facial recognition drones that actually look at everybody's face and attack them. We've been developing this stuff for, I'm sure, I know a while, at least years. But now they're coming out and they're actually saying that they're going to be developing these specific drone swarms with an eye on China. It says the Department of Defense is developing, and I told you guys about this years ago, and people even commented. They said, oh, yeah, sure. And this was before a lot of the drone technology and the swarms, and even before the TED Talk the guy put out that kind of explained it and showed it off and things, and people really didn't think that the technology was at that level yet. It's been at this level for a while, but it's now gotten to the point where it's cheap enough where they can mass produce these. The Department of Defense is developing the ability to launch thousands of drones at a time for use in a future war with China. It says at a conference hosted by the National Defense Industrial Association, the NDIA, Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks said Washington is initiating a program to launch thousands of land, air, and sea drones simultaneously. So, if we're publicly coming out with these things, and we're probably going to see videos of these things in work, and we're probably going to see some sort of battle-tested version of this, we're probably going to see videos of some sort of urban warfare where thousands of these things come over. Think about this. If we have something, if we use something, they are going to use something. And they're talking about specifically a war with China. Think about this. If you're on the West Coast and all of a sudden there's one of the carriers is out there, and all of a sudden, and by the way, they have China already has a very specific carrier for drones, and they're bigger drones, but they also have a system that can launch the small ones. Think about this. Thousands of drones flying over, kind of like Red Dawn with the parachutes coming down, only it would be drones. And they would have facial recognition. They could identify people. They could even identify police. They could identify, I guarantee they could probably identify what, origin you are. And they could just literally hit you. Is that not a trip? Because the facial recognition is to that point. Each one could have a target. Each one could have data uploaded from it that they have on all of us, because we have confirmed and we've shown you that they have a profile on almost every single American person. Every American that's here, they have some sort of profile. Don't believe me? Go look it up. There's been many hacks, and through the social media networks, they said that they've even built out a folder and file for all of us. That's a really scary thought, especially when you think about how we just found out they scraped all the social medias to not only link our person with our pictures online. So they have facial recognition capabilities, and they have drone capabilities. So think about that. That is really quite scary. It's like the scene out of Olympus Has Fallen. I think that was the one with the drone swarms picking out people and then taking them out. Only it could do it on a scale that we've never seen before. I would think if this did happen and if you saw this in real life, which who knows, some of us may see this in our lifetime, I would get inside quick or go downstairs or go somewhere or hide behind a rock. I don't know what to say about this, but that's a terrifying thought, Dex. Think about thousands of small drones flying, each one equipped with some horrible, horrible explosive coming right at you. I wouldn't want to be on the opposite side of that, whether it's ours or theirs.
Well, yeah, and being able to deploy them within 24 hours. That's a huge achievement.
Not to mention the systems that we covered that could get this anywhere in the world within 30 minutes to an hour. They're talking about systems and hypersonic systems that can deliver something in any place in the planet in 30 minutes or less. Kind of goes back to what we covered yesterday with how they got this drill in Alaska, and they did it in a matter of hours somehow. Go ahead, Dex.
I was going to say this admiral also confirms what you said through your source, that they've been doing this for the last 5 to 10 years as far as DARPA development on this.
Yeah, and the same with the lasers, the laser tech. They've been working on lasers as big as cars forever. And when it comes and it trickles down to us, it's something that's already been in the works for years. Anything that ends up getting released to the public is something that they were working on decades ago. Like they've always said, like the government has, it's 30 years in advance. I don't know how, I don't think it's an exact number. And I bet you in some areas we're way more ahead than we think. That's not public yet. But the scary part is probably that means so is China. And we won't see these things until we're at war with whoever we're up against. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. China, Russia behind largest cross-platform misinformation operation. So what? Dex, go ahead. And we know they have an army of online soldiers in China, but what's this about?
Well, this is a report coming out of Meta, aka Facebook, saying that they've basically, found this massive disinformation campaign running from China, and specific as well as Russia too. So 2 different ones, and they basically explain what they were doing. In one case, they were obviously on the Russian side, they were trying to de-emphasize stuff with UKR, and then with the Chinese side, they were trying to influence people around what the thoughts were regarding what's going on with China, but they reported the number of accounts they found. They reported, how they were going about doing this, and they've, basically said they removed 7,700 Facebook accounts, 954 pages, 15 groups, 15 Instagrams, that was just targeting the Chinese operations. That's just for the Chinese one. I don't know what the statistics were for the Russian one, but it's an interesting thing. It's also coming out of Meta, which I know a lot of people don't really, like them nor believe half of the stuff that comes from them. I do know they've had a lot of issues in the media that don't necessarily paint them in a good picture. So this may be one of their ways of trying to bring about some good branding, I guess you could say, in some regards. But yeah, that's what they're doing. They're going after these folks, and they're talking about it, and they're publishing it from Facebook, telling everybody what they've actually found.
The reason I do believe, I believe, see, that's the thing. People think, oh, if it's mainstream media, it's not true. They twist how you perceive it, right? Meta might actually, they might be, there might be some stuff regarding, competitive companies in China and things like this. I don't know. But one thing I have noticed is because I have talked about China, not in a great way, I've seen so many accounts pop up and basically defend it and say they're great and say that they live there. There was one gentleman that I believe was a legit person, but most of them, they're legitimate, like just comments that come out of nowhere if I talk about anything anti, China. or anti-CCP. They just pop out of nowhere. It's kind of freaky. If you think about it, if they wanted anything to trend, they could have it. If they wanted to ratio anyone, and they could do that. They have over 1 million people that are their virtual soldiers, that are physical persons that are basically hired to go online and to do the bidding of the CCP. That is the largest standing virtual army in existence. So think about this. If there's a subject or a story that's out there and you're on the fence whether to believe it or not, if you see every single person online saying, no, I totally believe this, or my mom works in the field, she said this is absolutely true, and you see another person that says, absolutely, this is the best thing I've ever heard, this, I know for a fact this is true. If you see that and it's overwhelming support in one way, people, it's like a peer pressure thing. People see it and they go, oh, everybody else thinks it's true. And I think that that's a good way that they operate, or a way that they have done for a long time. And they have also paid for all sorts of positive influence in all of these mainstream medias. They own chunks of these media companies. Heck, we only see the things that get shouted out, but they can also negatively impact movies, TV, all of this stuff. If they don't like something, if it's too patriotic, they can go in and change it. Heck, I just saw a movie that I absolutely knew before I even looked at the credits or anything else. It was The Meg 2. It just came out with Jason Statham. All the Fast Furious movies, all these movies are huge invested in by Chinese companies. And they remove things from these movies that we never even hear about. Kind of like Tom Cruise, they wanted to remove the Taiwan patch. No Way Home, Spider-Man, they wanted to remove the Statue of Liberty. They wanted them to digitally remove it from the movie when it was the last 30 minutes of the movie. They were like, hey, can you just digitally remove it? The entire fight scene was literally in the scaffolding around the Statue of Liberty, but they still asked. The only reason we know about it is because they said no, and the investor, I believe, pulled out of that one. But these investors in the Meg 2, they have been pushing. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but a lot of really, really big movies here have always been pushing, like Moonfall. I think it was Moonfall, where the moon's going to destroy the Earth. They have China or a Chinese somebody with background as the hero, and you can tell that it's like, you can literally tell that there's somebody from the CCP guiding their hand in what they're putting in the movie. It's nuts. But in the Meg, they totally, and then in Moonfall, they have China save the day with their technology, and they work together with the United States, NASA, and everything. This is in a ton of movies, and you probably don't even know it. But right when I looked at the Meg, it's like the huge investment companies were all tied to the CCP. It's like we see this all over the place. So it's not just online. It's in media. It's in movies. It's in TV. It's everywhere. And if you go against them, you get targeted. I'm telling you, it's nuts. You have videos made about you. You have all sorts of stuff. All right. And then before we talk about Finland, why is Finland counting its bomb shelters? I do want to remind you, make sure to get over to EMP Shield. They are, right now, you can get $50 off per device, and they're going to be doing all sorts of different things over the next month and a half. So make sure to get over to the website right now. Again, I don't know if anything is currently launched, so I won't say anything, but marfooglenews.com/EMP. And of course, you can get a device that can protect your cars, your trucks, all of your devices against not only EMP strike, but EMP strikes, multiples of all three phases, E1, E2, E3, and it can protect against the CMEs, a Carrington level event from the sun. So if you want to be able to get out to bug out or to get home to bug in, this is something that you need in your arsenal. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You can also get a home version that will not only protect you against CME, EMP, but it will also protect you against bad lightning. If you've ever known anybody that has had lightning strike their house and do damage, this will protect you from that as well. And if it doesn't, they have a $25,000 insurance policy no questions asked. So again, marfugglenews.com/EMP. And then, Dex, you want to talk about Finland counting their bomb shelters? What the heck's going on here?
Well, isn't this kind of odd to hear this happening? But let's dive a little bit beyond why, because we kind of know why. I think everybody knows there's something going on in Europe, and with them joining NATO, putting more of a target on their back from Russia, it was probably very important for them to go count them. They actually have 50,500 of them. The reason they have this is it stems back from the 1950s, where they actually made it mandatory to build these shelters underneath apartment blocks and office buildings. So they claim that they have 5.5 million people, 50,500 shelters that can actually fit 4.8 million people. So obviously not enough for their entire population, but still that's a huge endeavor that they've done. 91% of the shelters can withstand attacks from conventional weapons. 83% are actually equipped to provide shelter from both gas emission and nukes. So again, pretty stout when you think about this. Just given the think about here in America, where is a shelter around here? We don't have that many. There were very few ever built, and there's of course fallout locations in big cities, but those signs have all rusted and fallen off the buildings. So they're not the same thing as necessarily an actual boom shelter like we're talking here. So these guys are well equipped. Obviously, I'm sure there's about 1 million people that are wondering where they're going to go because they don't have enough room. But at the same time, there's 300 million people here in America that got nowhere to go. So pretty astonishing, but also pretty alarming that this is what's so important to them right this moment.
And these could also be used for just a hot conflict with, any kind of, missiles and artillery and anything else. If the war literally moved in towards Finland, people could get shelter from. What's crazy is I don't believe almost anyone knows where the shelters are here. Like Dex said, nobody knows where they're at. We don't make this a thing. What I think is crazy is how anti-prep the U.S. is. I don't understand it. I do understand it, because if you look back, 3-letter agencies like the CIA, they would label preppers as crazy. Like they came up with the theorist label. There's an idea that because we're American, we don't have to worry about this. That even if we are worried about it, they actually thought that if we kept all of our air raid sirens and things like this, that would give the impression to other countries that if we're worried about it, then we might do it because we're the only country that supposedly did it, right? I think it's crazy that almost all of our sirens are either decommissioned, not available, not usable, and all of our shelters have been essentially just put out to pasture. If something does go on, even if it's just a hot war, with tanks rolling and people won't have places to go. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. And then use nuclear strike to stop UKR's counteroffensive, says former Russian general. What he is suggesting is to use a tactical nuclear strike in southern UKR after Kiev's forces were said to be gaining a foothold near some of Moscow's weakest defenses in the area. Pro-Kremlin MP Audrey Gurilev, 55, a retired lieutenant general, urged Russian military leaders to target the Zaporizhia region of Rybotine, recently recaptured by Kiev. Says, quote, the village of Rabotino is an ideal place to use a tactical nuclear weapon. It says the UKR people, have all gathered there in one place. It's just perfect. Kind of a terrifying thought if there's tens of thousands of people there, one tactical nuke and just gone. But UKR celebrated the tiny settlement's liberation on Monday at the culmination of an 11-week battle on the southern front line. On Tuesday, Kiev's military announced its troops had made further progress around Verbov, around 7 miles to the east in their push southwards towards the Sea of Azov. So one thing, though, I've heard is people, they say, oh, they're taking back land, they're taking back this place. But at what cost? even if they take 2, 3, 4, 5 cities, but they lose all of their people to the point where they're diminished to where they can almost not fight unless they get more people, then who's going to win in the long run? The one thing I've noticed is that Russia still hasn't used a lot of its might. And it seems like they're reserving it for either a bigger fight, and they're trying to use as little as they possibly can for as long as they possibly can. Meanwhile, UKR has been getting checks and checks and checks and gear and gear and gear. And we know that a lot of this stuff has been destroyed. Heck, now they're going to be getting jets. As they went up from air defenses, RPGs, air defenses, tanks, now jets, the more it's going to get expensive. If you think the money we've already given them is a lot, think about, as this goes on and all that stuff gets destroyed, now we're giving them bigger ticket items. NATO is going to be given tons more, unless something changes in this where we go in directly, which seems like is the plan. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Ecto1, Kiki Gray, Hopkinson, Cookielicious, One on B, and Karen from Columbus. Thank you over on DLive, and thank you, Chance, for modding over there, and thank you, Jammer, as well. Webster Sham, thank you for following over on DLive, and then Mary XX, thank you for celebrating a sub-anniversary. I appreciate that. Dex, do you have comments on the use a tactical nuke? I mean, it's kind of pushed everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's certainly that statement has come quite a bit, and it's a little bit more specific here because he's got a time, place, and exact reason why to hit that location. I doubt it will happen, but that this is the type of use case that we have talked about where they would pull out a tactical if they have in conflict the ability to take out something significant. It's not just like a lot of us think about nukes, it's like, oh, the whole town, like massive city is just completely wiped out for 10 miles because this monstrosity just took it all out. Yeah, that's not what they're talking about here. They're talking about using something that's much smaller. It's not nowhere near as strong as that, and it's designed to be used on a battlefield and be used in a way to take out a large number of troops, a large number of tanks, large number of equipment, not necessarily to level an entire city, which is what the big ones, the big boys are all about, for mutually assured destruction. That's totally different than tactical, but we've yet to see tactical in the battlefield. We have yet to at least acknowledge when it's been used. We've seen things that people have questioned, but we've yet to actually see its use.
I think if when the first tactical nuclear happens, if it's not, they say it's a tactical nuke and it's actually a Moab or what is it, the FOAB, the father of all bombs. When it is first used, I bet it, even when after it's used, it's going to be debated. I bet you the entire internet is going to debate the videos, and here's my prediction. When the first tactical nuke goes off, it's going to be somewhere where there's hundreds of angles on it, where everybody weighs in, hundreds and hundreds of angles of it, and everybody is going to debate whether it's real, if it's this, if it's that. And I bet you, even if they do use one, I don't think people will believe it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. But it would be an easy way, an easy Fantastic Freddy to start off something massive. I think that right now, with what I've heard about all of these folks moving to Alaska, with everything else, I feel like we are ripe for a massive Fantastic Freddy, a 2001 level type thing, some sort of Pearl Harbor type thing, something that would get us directly into this. But that's just my opinion. I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm looking at the patterns, and this is a long-term thing that I've been watching for years, and I think that most of you kind of agree with me that there is something headed our way. But especially with all of the media narratives that are going around about it's like they're doing a full circle of events that they're preparing for. It's not just one, it's many. Dex, go ahead.
I was going to ask if you wanted to grab that article since we're talking about Russia and UKR.
Yeah, the Estonia.
Yeah.
So check this out. Right now, and it's still there. It's changing as we speak. Let's see here. So, UKR drones attack Russian airbase near Estonia. It said that UKR drones swept across Russia in overnight attacks that destroyed military aircraft and disrupted air traffic, Russian officials said early on Wednesday, hours after the funeral service for Russian mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin. Attacks by unmanned aircraft were reported in Pskov, Bryansk, Gulaga, Orlov, and Ryazan regions, as well as the Russian-occupied Crimean Peninsula. It says the most significant attack appeared to be in Pskov, about 411 miles north of the UKR frontier, near the borders with Estonia and Latvia, where Russian officials said that 4 Il-76 military transport planes were damaged. UKR has stepped up to its drone war in recent months, often hitting targets deep inside Russian territory in support of a ground offensive that's meeting stiff resistance on the southern and eastern front lines. Now, remember, if you go off of what General McGregor said, and I believe him, I believe that he knows this information, says that how Russia is set up is they were the first countries way back that was able to connect their satellites to their battlefield. And they were able to do targeted, extremely precise, targeted strikes on anything that came near. So if you could imagine, they're monitoring troops coming up to whatever line of sight, they see them coming up with their satellites to their border or to their entrenched areas. Before they even get close, they're sending missiles and basically hitting and wiping them out before they even get there. They say it's extremely hard because if you were to take and invade Russia, they are baked in there. And they've done over 600 miles of trenches. They're dug in really, really good. Colonel McGregor said that absolutely they are. It would be an incredible feat to just roll up in there because they have so much long-range support. They can literally target them from space and hit them before they can even see Russians. So I just, with these drones, definitely changed things, especially in numbers, but I still don't think that, their offensive is going as well as they say it is. But yeah, so that just happened. Hopefully it wasn't Estonia because it's changed twice now. I saw that right when Kenny Cams commented that there was at least one article that said that it hit Estonia, but now they're saying it hit near Estonia. Yeah. And then Russian railways warehouses on fire in the center of Moscow, which could also be another attack. Warehouses with property of the Russian railways caught fire in the center of Moscow, and it says that the fire occurred near warehouses in the vicinity of the 3-station square in Moscow, popular name for Komsomolskaya Square, and does not affect train traffic. Russian railways sent a fire train to help extinguish the fire. Black smoke is reported to be clearly visible several kilometers away from the fire. Emergency services are now on their way to the scene. Initially, this says that propagandists cited the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Russia and stated that a warehouse was on fire, while Telegram channels reported that several warehouses were on fire. So, depending on who you listen to, it's not just one, it's multiple. But some say that it's fake news and some say that it's legit. Don't know what to say, but it sounds like it could be them minimalizing the damage that UKR is doing, or it could be UKR and people on Telegram maximizing the damage that they did on Russia. So, which way do you think it is going? Let me know. Let's see here. And locals fear getting priced out of Maui after fires. There will be no option but to leave. So first of all, the fact that right away, within one day, I don't even think it was 24 hours, maybe it was 48 hours, the governor there says, they did this whole thing like that. So everybody immediately, even our community was like, these big elites are going in there and trying to buy it. I think that they were trying to, I think that was part of this whole story. So I talked to some people that live there, and they've talked to a lot of their friends and family, and they said the opposite of what I first heard. That yes, they do get investor calls and stuff like that, but it wasn't like it wasn't that bad right after the fire. What they did get calls was, and it was government agencies talking to them and asking if they got their stuff burnt down, this and this and that. What if they put it out there that all of these scary companies are trying to grab this property right away? The mayor or the governor looks like the hero. You're not going to take this land away from these locals. We are. Says, you know what? I have the right mind to block all of these companies, and we're going to block the sale of this. And you know what? We're going to try to acquire that land. Because there's a lot of theories on this, and they're calling them conspiracy. But as far as if they wanted the land for Maui, for the government, for them to do all of these things. And everybody's talking about it, and they've already labeled that as, like on the fringe side of things. But I think it was absolutely suspicious that the governor, within 48 hours, was saying, we have to protect the Maui people and take their land for ourselves. Literally saying, well, I think it should be, anything but. We should make it a memorial to them, or we should build on top of it, or we should clear it out. And nothing's going to be built anytime soon here if you think you can come in and steal our land. That's our job to steal our land. The locals there think it's a bunch of BS. And let us hear your opinions. Let us know, or even call in on Thursday or Friday if you're local and you're watching this, because I'd love to hear from you. I thought it was too perfect that they're saying that the big bad wolf is coming in to buy stuff, and then they are saying that they want to get that land. But now it says that a lifelong inhabitant of the islands who is a native of Hawaiian and Pacific Islander heritage, she knows no home but Hawaii and feels close to the aloha of the community that you can't find anywhere else. But she's afraid that the tourism that sustains her family won't return, and that after thousands of homes were lost in the deadly Maui, they won't find an affordable place to live. And she's probably right. Where else is she going to go? It says that's what led Kamalamela Lua to broach a previously unthinkable question. I asked my husband if we should move to Vegas, she said. Well, a couple years ago, you would have had the same police chief suggesting the couple and their toddler could forge a new home in the desert city affectionately called the Ninth Island for its large population of Hawaiians and former Hawaii residents. We have family there, Kamala Lua said. It's cheaper, and they have a ton of hotels to work in. The allure of the mainland has long won over people from the state with the nation's highest cost of living. Now experts fear that the fire and redevelopment that follows could speed up gentrification of Maui and the outward migration. What's sad about this is that there are so many people in her same spot where perhaps they were renting a spot in Lahaina. They were working at a tourist trap or whatever you want to call it, or a restaurant or somewhere there. Now that that's not going to return anytime soon, they're living paycheck to paycheck. What are they going to do? They basically are forced to leave. And then guess who gobbles up whoever, and now there's no renters for that land. Guess who gobbles that up? The state. And they can do whatever they want. If you really think about it, say if you are some big evil corporation, just saying, and there's some 95-year-old lady who just will not sell, and she's already set up for 3 generations to not sell, and she's going to give it to their kids, and their kids are hardcore and never going to sell. How are you ever going to access that place? And that's why people think it's suspicious. And people can't fathom that that anything like this could happen. But the reason why people question is because when you really come down to it, yes, it's in places, in shows like Yellowstone, almost anything that could be science fiction or on fictional shows probably happens in real life. If the imagination can think it, real people have done it. So I think it's just wild and ridiculous that there isn't more being done. We're sending billions of dollars overseas when locals like this don't have any kind of support, and probably have to move to Vegas. It's like, it's ridiculous. Dex.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this gentrification is going to happen. And the other thing, though, I didn't realize, and just because I'm not familiar with Hawaii and the natives there, but that they literally consider Vegas to be the ninth island because there are so many Hawaiians that have migrated there, which I thought was rather interesting to me, especially given the police chief coming the other direction. But that probably has nothing to do with it. But probably just sheer easeability from their location into the States, and obviously work capability, and probably a much easier economy than, say, California, which is super expensive. So,
I get it, because they all work at tourist attractions. That's the majority of it. And then where do you go from that? There's hotel after hotel. There's resorts. It's pretty much the same kind of tourist. People either go to Vegas or they go to Hawaii. Like, those are the two big vacations in the United States. I mean, you could count, the Grand Canyon, things like that. But of its kind, of an attraction event where people are going, they're bringing money they're going to blow it on stupid sweatshirts with their name on it, that would be Vegas and Hawaii. No, I wasn't asking for my stupid sweatshirt with my name on it. No. You can put all 14 of those back. Yeah, no, I don't need them right now. Sorry. Well, I'll take the blue one, actually. It is getting chilly. Anywho, before we move on, make sure to go over and check out Energy. We actually had a lightning storm above us and had our power go up for about 25 minutes. And funny enough, Dex would talk to you, and you lost power and lost internet there for a minute in Georgia.
6 times. It was ridiculous.
If you've ever lost power, then you probably know it's pretty awesome to be able to just keep going. To be able to just turn everything back on is absolutely amazing. The bad part is, I think the only downside is the price of solar generators, gas power generators can get up there. But if you do have the ability to get one of these, I would highly recommend getting a good one. Why you would get a good one and why would you get a solar is because once you have purchased it initially and you got yourself a panel, you have unlimited power. You don't have to purchase gas. You just put your panels out and the sun gains power. These panels are highly efficient as far as now solar technology has gotten to the point where you can, that these can charge really fast from the sun, and you have that power to use whenever you want. But you also don't have to use it from that. You can use these as giant battery banks and backups, and you can now even use it as a UPS system or uninterrupted power supply. This is an expandable solar generator that is silent, that can be used inside, that you can't hear from 3 blocks away, and it is also expandable up to 96 batteries that you can actually mod. So you can add a UPS rapid charger that can charge it. I believe it's 1,200 watts, or you can select to do it 250 if you don't want to. If you don't want to do the quick charging, you can do either one. But this is insane. It charges it. I didn't even want to do the fast option because it was so fast. But I think it said 35 minutes or something, and it speeds up to 1,200 watts. And that was for 1 or 2 batteries. I think that was for 1 battery. I have 2 batteries on mine and the UPS, and now I can plug things into it and then plug it into the wall. And it literally, if the power goes out, it will automatically switch over. So it's a really cool kind of double feature with this. It basically is a fast charger and a UPS all in one. So if you haven't got that addition, if you already have the Flex, I would highly recommend getting them while they still have them. I think they only have a few left, so make sure to grab those up. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. You will give us credit and you will get a giant discount, so make sure to do so. Don't forget. And then teen brawls broke out in California and across the country on $4 movie day. Dex, why are these kids fighting?
This actually, deep in this article, it hits close to home for me. This is something that happened a year ago, where I live. It was back then with inflation as it is now. It was $3 movies a year ago. This National Movie Day. 19 kids in our town were arrested because I guess everybody just dumped their kids off at the movie theater because it was $3 and now it was $4. I thought it was just a weird thing that happened where we live, but now it's a nationwide story that when it came around this year, again, it happened where we live, but it's also happened in lots of other cities where these big fights and big events are taking place at the movie theaters on this day, which is the National Movie Theater, National Cinema Day, and all the cinemas, have these ridiculously low prices to get people to come in. But it's really turning into being the worst day ever to go to the movies because it is just mayhem going on in many of these locations. And I don't know if it happened to anyone else, but there was plenty of towns here that were listed, a lot of them big cities, but in my case, a small town in West Georgia, where its mall was just completely, run over with kids being unruly and no parental supervision and getting into all sorts of mischief. And bang bangs were fired, all sorts of stuff. And it was not good. It's not pretty. And I don't understand why they do this. It just doesn't seem to make any sense, especially after what happened last year.
It's crazy. I've lived in some pretty bad areas. The people that I've even seen, this guy was like one of the toughest guys I've ever seen. He was used to be in one of the biker gangs, not like the Hells Angels, but another one. Guy is tough as hell. And I remember something he said, and it was in South Park, and he saw this group of kids, and he said the other way, and I'm like, wow, you never turn around from anybody. He said he goes, but I watch out for the teenagers because they have something to prove, and they think they're invincible. Like I did so much stuff when I was a stupid teenager. I can't imagine. And every teenager thinks that they're just invincible. We all know this now. Like we all know the stupid stuff we did when we were kids. But the kids today, especially, a lot of the kids don't actually have parents around. People leave their kids to be raised by their machines and by their phones and things. So they don't have, and there's not a lot of morals out anymore. If you look at the actual data, there's not too many people that are still teaching like old-fashioned values and politeness and chivalry. Like that's dead. I can only imagine what the teenagers, if there's thousands of teenagers gathering, are like now. I guess I don't even have to imagine it. They're all fighting and doing dumb stuff. I mean, what other group of people drive around at night and knock mailboxes off the sticks with bats? I think most of the people I know did something stupid like that, or shoot BB guns at windows for the heck of it, like stupid stuff. One thing I would say though is these kids now, I see all the time. It's like a weekly occurrence that I see some young 16, 15, 17-year-old getting charged with murder, homicide, whatever else, and they're getting charged as an adult. I'd say if there are any young people watching there out there, I'd say you're not invincible, and it'll only be a matter of years before you realize how stupid you are. And if you have one of these said teenagers, I am so sorry, and I'm praying for you. Amen.
Time does cure that.
Yeah, but not soon enough. I was watching that show Linus from Taylor Sheridan verse. Have you seen that, Dex?
Yes.
I know you're a Taylor Sheridan guy with like Yellowstone and stuff. But the episode where the girl gets in a car accident with her friends.
Oh yeah. And
he finds out she's 14 years old, she's pregnant, and she gets in a car accident. But basically what he said is totally true. It's like if he's like, that's why we don't want you to drive with a teenage driver or deal with boys. She says something like, I can't handle this. And he's like, yeah, exactly why you shouldn't be having sex and you shouldn't be driving with teenage drivers. You learned both lessons today, but you have the, ability to be here, whereas the friend in the car died. And it's like, I knew so many kids when I was in high school that died in car crashes, died of stupid things like getting stabbed. One of my classmates actually got taken out by 2 kids and murdered in Boom City. Like, there was so much stupid stuff that went on. If you want to reminisce, what stupid things did you do when you were a teenager? Let me know in the comments down below, but don't do anything that's going to get you in trouble, or at least anything that's statute of limitations free. Carl Warpy, thank you for subscribing. Josh Egan. Deanne Sketsum, thank you so much for subscribing. And thank you. Let's see here. Everybody over on DLive, thank you guys. Thank you, 1B, Cookielicious, and Kiki Gray. Thank you guys for the support. Liz Potter, some new members. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jessica Smith, Starshine, Juby Joe, Bobby Brown, Darren Schrader, Love Pugs 05, Jason Bishop. Thank you guys. And just today, again, thank you, Starshine, and thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Dex, do you want to go over the web only? Got some crazy stuff there.
Yeah, we certainly do. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you to this webpage where everything we just covered is there and easily accessible to you, including those white papers from DoD and the other ones. There's also the link to the giveaway. Don't forget the Resvani tank. But by the way, I don't know if you noticed when Adam was talking to you guys about Harvest Right, they have a giveaway too. So make sure you go to that link. Even if you're not necessarily interested in buying one right now, at least try to go win one because they're giving one away. By the way, if you do buy it and you win, they'll give you the money back, which is kind of cool too. Look, there's lots of other things going on. I know a lot of folks are worried about the gas in Florida, especially the folks that are trying to get out with the hurricane coming. There's lots of other things going on. They've got about maybe 8 hours till landfall. There's a handful of gas stations that have been contaminated, and up to a dozen or half a dozen or more have been contaminated. So if you're looking for that list, it's on the website. So you can go click that link and find that and find more. We do have some other interesting things. Some archaeologists found a 2,000-year-old computer, and no, it doesn't plug into the wall, but it's mechanical, analog computer. It's interesting if you're into that kind of thing. All of California is now drought-free. Apparently, all of that rain and all that melt has put them right back where they needed to be. So we had a feeling that was going to happen eventually. Some other interesting things happening around the globe. We definitely have some updates of the stuff happening in Russia. We've got in UKR. We've got updates of what's going on with T-Man and all the political stuff even with Tucker and other things. As a matter of fact, they're even saying Tucker's trying to potentially interview Putin. That's an interesting story. If you haven't read that, go check that out. That and a lot more, including Foxconn, the chip maker, was supposed to be building some buildings here in Wisconsin, but they walked out on that deal over the course of the last couple of years. It basically went nowhere. So that and so much more. I gave you just the surface. If you want to see the rest of it, go to the website, click that show notes link down below in the description, or go to marfoogle.news.com and click on the thumbnail for today's show.
Somebody said that they ran over a skunk and put it in the trunk of their car or something. Somebody else said there was some pretty good dumb stories there. Yeah, there was. Everybody did something stupid when they were a teenager. I don't think there's.
Which one was yours?
Which one?
Did you admit to one, or were you just giving examples?
Well, I did do the mailbox thing once when I was 14, and I was in the car with a bunch of teenagers. I also took out a small window with the BB gun for no reason at all, which was really dumb. I
tied beer cans to a coat.
I jumped on top. I rode on top of a car like a surfboard, like a dummy in a parking lot, and the guy was doing donuts and flung me off. I could have died then. I did lots of stupid crap. I think all of us did. And if you say you didn't, then either, well, there's a few that were quite sheltered or something. I don't know. Even if you were sheltered, you probably did something stupid at home that you wouldn't do today. Gosh, I did a lot of stupid stuff. Yeah. What's a good stupid one for you, Dex?
Oh, mine more. We tied a bunch of beer cans to like a coat hanger and made this giant hook and grabbed it onto cars as it went by. And then they went down the street dangling a whole bunch of cans behind them. That's probably pretty lame. compared to some of the other stuff. But the other one was pizza dough. Took a whole bunch of pizza dough and shoved it in someone's mailbox, and by the time high noon came around, that mailbox exploded.
Oh man, I took beer out of a garage once. It was my friend's neighbor, and we went in and took beer out of it. That was probably the worst thing I did, as far as consequences. But just dumb stuff like that.
We used the BB. We didn't take windows out with the BB bang bangs. We actually shot each other with them, which was pretty dumb. But we didn't have paintball back then.
Well, there's a bigger story to that, because the lady wasn't home, and the lady. What's funny is, looking back on it, we were only bad towards the lady because she had an old school video camera, and she was always looking at her window at everybody, and she'd called the cops on my friend who was Filipino multiple times, and he was only 13 years old. He wasn't a bad kid. Every time she saw him coming down the hill, she would call the police, and she called the police like 4 times. Every time he would walk by, she would say that he was a suspicious person, and this was back in the 90s or late 90s. And she then she put up a tripod with a massive old school shoulder camera in her window to videotape my friend. And that was the little tiny, and she wasn't there, and we had like one of those big 10 pump things, and we took out the one next to the camera and, ran like miles thinking that the whole FBI was after us or something, and hid in like a trench, and like we're waiting for helicopters, and nothing happened, of course. And then I believe he told his mom, and then his mom ended up going over to the lady's house and paying for the window. But it kind of confirmed her suspicions that we were bad kids. But yeah, that was like, I was I think 10 or something. But yeah, stupid stuff like that. If you have a stupid story, let us know in the comments down below. The funnest show that we did last year is when we talked about our like the games, the stuff we used to do when we were kids back in the 80s and 90s. I know there's a lot of folks that their kid stuff was in the 60s, 70s. So let me know what you guys did when you were kids in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. What was the dumb stuff you did? Let us know. And then thank your mods. Also, they were doing a great job keeping it awesome in the chat by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. Make sure to go not only subscribe, but go comment and of course, engage with their channels over there. They're all working very hard to have a channel built, so make sure to go support them. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Hola. Somebody said they remember when the DUI was a $50 fine. That's nuts. Fast pace. Good night. Thank you, Craig Jacob. Thank you. Shoot, my uncle had one of the first kegerators, like 1940s fridge we got weighted filling. Oh my gosh. Everybody has, everybody probably has a keg story. Warren G, I wasn't ready. Hola. Hola.
la jigge mot meg ved gå an bli anami og ved le båndega anda le gosa isha hola la jigge mot meg ved gå an bli anami og ved le båndega anda le gosa isha hola hey woulda up 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 got a paycheck for just wine and a K. Party or Fraser, time of day 7. Hola, hola, chicos. All the times on the battle of D&R. Derek Perez, all to the old days red. Mark Carpenter and Mr. Jed. Hey, with a KT, cleans it a lot. Sleeping in the back door. I'm gonna have kids in the dirt world. I am some might just tell you how. Comet, Moon, and Linda Atkins. We need to stop, drop, and pray. I say L-O-L-O-L-K. I got this old Mo Patriots 4-2-1. Billy Jacks, Wyota, America. Cops, you still give us rides to home. Yeah. There was actual curfew where I was from. Me and my friend Kevin were rollerblading at 3 a.m, and I think we were trying to get somebody to buy us a pack of cigarettes, and nobody would buy it. And then the cops pulled up and said, "You're not supposed to be out," and he gave us a ride home. Those were the good old days. Or being a teenager and trying to get a grown-up to buy you beer. Oh yeah. La jigge mot meg ved gå an bli anami og ved le båndega anda le gosa isha hola la jigge mot meg ved gå an bli anami og ved le båndega anda le gosa isha hola. With a connection that I see, maybe dizzy on how to fake ID. Too much information. LOLIC. Tinfoil hat and K. Parker, Fraser and Cookie Licious. You must go home, but it's so delicious. Captain Opana, street lights, or maybe those kids in a little bit of street fights. I quit drinking and go to the gym every day now. This is neato. I quit drinking 10 years ago. I think it's job when my first daughter was going to be born. Too much information, relocating. Going back around now. I'm mating up on them now. With cigarette machines at 50 cents now. Relocating lawn ornaments is funny. I think everybody did some of the stupid stuff, like the light up deer. Sorry, there was a lot of people that did that. Or the stupid signs, who you vote for. Grab those for no reason at all. Randy man, I quit drinking that, and then I did it. And Uncle Dan said that we go, and now we ban everything that makes us happy. Stealth Mo, a Barbie, a Jackson, Kathy, a Bahina, and everybody behind ya are Willie. Blew up my G.I. Joes with firecrackers all low, like a Toy Story with the laser pens, truth, iris. Cookie, delicious. Mad Dog 2020 AC. 2-4 had it not but hate me. Nobody really wanna go, but they gon' hate me. But this is back before everyone had cameras, yeah. On the porch and on the back, on their wagon, on the backup camera. James Garcia, dog and a DJ Tesla. Super genius and a side Wi-Fi. Universe unseen. Why we try. It will back.